Hello everybody, I'm Hannah and welcome to my channel Bookshelfish. If you are new here, I'm so excited to meet you. If you're not new here, I'm excited you're here too. Today we're going to be talking about every single book that I read in the month of June. Okay, so if you are new here, usually when I'm doing wrap-ups like this, I kind of start with some stats. So I usually pull these from the Storygraph, which is one of my favorite book tracking apps. I'm a big data nerd, so I love to see what they exactly pull from my books, and it gives me a really good sense of how my reading was that month. My dog is running around in the background, so if you hear squeaks, that's him. He knows where the camera's at and refuses to be seen, but he loves to be heard. Okay, so jumping right into it, for the month of June, I read 16 books. I have a kind of soft goal for myself to read about 17 books a month. There's no reason for that to happen, but the reason that I picked 17 is because if I read 17 books throughout the year, 17 books per month throughout the year, I end up with 200 at the end of the year. So right now that we just finished June, we're at the halfway mark. I think I'm at 94 books for the year so far. So I'm not exactly on track per se, but there's definitely still time to catch up. Last year, I ended up stopping at 191 books because while I could have pushed, I was like, you know what? I don't want to. The 200 isn't that important to me. It's just kind of a benchmark. So I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens this year. But anyway, month of June. So for the month of June, I read 16 books. I'll pop my moods up here. So my top moods were emotional, adventurous, tense, mysterious, lighthearted, hopeful. You don't need to be here for this. I love you very much. And then my lower moods that we didn't so much hit were like reflective, dark. So I'm always pretty much in the same realm with moods, so that's not surprising to me. For pace, I had no slow-paced books, which I've been having like a book or two that are considered slow-paced, and they always rate poorly. So I just apparently don't even try anymore, which is fair. I got 27% fast and 73% at medium, which I feel like is a pretty normal spread. As far as page numbers, we've got 13% that are 500 plus, 19%, which are under 300, and then 69% that are in the 300s of 499 range. 100% fiction, again, not very shocking to me. As far as genres, I'll pop them up here. I had 12 romance books, 8 fantasy books, 6 contemporary, 3 young adult, 3 historical, 1 dystopian, 1 erotica. Oh, I know what that one is. We'll get to that. And 1 mystery. And then in terms of format, this is so interesting. The last couple of months, I've just had really low print numbers. So 19% print, 44% audio, and 38% digital. I've talked about this a little bit, but over the last, really our official move date was last month. So the month that we're talking about right now, June. So I feel like between packing, unpacking, moving, whatever, it's just been a lot of audio and ebooks, which is great, but obviously different than the majority print that I usually read. And then star ratings, we got 9 4 stars, which is really good, 2 5 stars, 4 3 stars, and then 1 2 star. So not a bad spread. Also, I should touch on, as a lot of you guys know, I'm doing a year-long Sarah J. Maas reread, and so I'm trying to read 1 book a month. I had my best friend here from Oklahoma at the end of the month for like 4 days-ish. We didn't get really much reading done at all. And so I kind of just tanked on my numbers towards the end of the month, but if I hadn't done that, I would have finished my Sarah J. Maas read of the month, which was Tower of Dawn. I have since finished it. I'm filming this on July 4th, actually. America. And so that was one of the first book that I finished. It made it so that there were no rereads in June. So kind of a bummer, but we'll get into that. And so with that, some overall stats now on my TBR. I have 712 books. I unhauled 4 books last month. All of these I'd already read and didn't really love them. Most of them were from May reads, I think, unless I'm counting these as the unhauls, but I know I'm not doing that because I'm about to talk about some of them. And then I read 5 arcs, which is pretty good for me. I'm a little bit behind on my art game right now. Like I said, I'm filming this early July, and I have 2 arcs that are due, or that are for books that publish on July 8th, and I'm not done with them yet. So that'll be what I do this weekend. I've got, so we got the arcs, and then I read 10 books off my shelf. No rereads, like I said. And then I acquired 8 books this month, only 8 books. So what that means is I read more books off my shelf shelves than I acquired, which I'm very proud of. And then there was one other book. So 5 ARCs, 10 books off my shelves, and there was another random ebook that was also the one that hit the erotica genre. Not proud of that one. So now what we're gonna do is just jump through every single book that I read this month and talk about them a little bit. I'm not the type of person who's gonna be able to give you every single detail or like a plot summary or anything like that. That's not really kind of what I want my wrap-ups to be. I would rather be able to just organically tell you kind of what I thought now a couple of weeks out from reading most of these. We'll jump into it. The first read I had of the month was Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. This was a surprise read to me. I picked up the audio on Libby and didn't really, I mean surprise read, obviously I'm not surprised that I read it because I chose it, but it wasn't on my TBR is where I was going with that. Rebecca Searle is very hit or miss for me. I was very meh on the dinner list. I loved In 5 Years, and then this one is another kind of meh for me. I think I gave it 4 stars, so it's definitely like up there. I liked it. I would recommend it. I'm probably not going to be, well, I don't know, maybe I will keep this one, but I can tell you that even from like a couple of weeks out, I don't remember a lot about this. My aunt is a big fan of Rebecca Searle, and I told her that I liked this one, and she read it and she hated it. So what can you do? But basically the premise of this one is every time she meets somebody, she gets a piece of paper that tells her how long their relationship's going to last. And it's never explained. It's very magical realism-y, and I'm not a big magical realism person. The only time that I feel like I've really loved magical realism is in Ashley Poston's books, specifically The Dead Romantics. I loved The Dead Romantics. 7 Years Slip was okay, and those are the only 2 I've read so far. If you already have had some success with Rebecca Searle in the past, then this might be worth picking up. Or if you're a big magical realism fiend, same. I probably will keep this one now thinking about it and maybe pass it along if I run out of room on my shelves, because it's fine. I wouldn't say it's one that I would like itch to reread necessarily, and I didn't find the main character overly likable at times. That's the expiration dates. Next we have an ARC, The Love Fix by Jill Shalvis. This is out as of when I'm filming this. It came out, I think June 25th, whatever that Tuesday was. I think it was the 25th. I love the cover of this one. I thought it was super cute. I didn't realize when I picked it up that it was based in Lake Tahoe, but I'm a Northern California native. I live about an hour from Tahoe, and so it was just a nice read that kind of brought me back there. A lot of it is about dealing with grief, dealing with a sister that is very different from you, and a lot of other things that I feel like applied to my life in ways that a lot of other books can hit on sometimes, but not exactly in the same way that this one did. So I really like that one. I think if you're a romance with stuff fan, think like Abby Jimenez light, then this might be a good read for you. Next up, we've got Will They or Won't They by Ava Wilder. One of my best friends, Maddie, loves Ava Wilder, and since having read this, she said that this wasn't one of her favorite books by this author. I thought it was fine, kind of the same thing. I mean, I read this 3rd in the whole month, so probably about a month out from when I read this. I don't remember a single thing about it. I listened to this one on audio, and I do kind of wonder if I would have liked it or remembered it more if it was in print, because a lot of times what I listen to on audio doesn't end up sticking with me as well. I think pick it up if you want it. I believe I gave it 3 stars, so it's not a super low rating. Like, it was fine, but I probably won't hang on to it. Next up, I also gave this one 4 stars. This is the Fairy Loot edition, so it doesn't look exactly like the normal cover, but this is Rose and Chains by Julie Soto. I had an ARC of this one, and then I got my Fairy Loot version, obviously, before filming this, so that's why I'm holding it up, but I did read it digitally. This is a rewritten Hermione fanfic called The Auction. I don't think you can like legally get it anywhere online anymore, but I'm sure you could find a way to hunt it down. I've not ever been as big into Hermione as a lot of people are. I haven't read The Auction either. I have read Manicold, but I think even if you're not like a huge Hermione fan, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, you'll be able to really connect kind of threads of where things were coming from. Based on the way that we left off in this book, I think that the future books in the series will very much kind of do their own thing that's not as reliant on the fanfic storyline. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I liked it. I had a good time reading it. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was one of my all-time favorite books, but that's okay. The book itself is just beautiful, but I mean, it is the fox. It is Fairy Loot, so what do you expect? Yeah, so I'm interested to see where this one goes. I do think because it has so many dark themes present in it, I would read with care. I mean, you know your own triggers, so just watch out for that, but it does get kind of into some master-slave dynamics that I know not a lot of people are a huge fan of. That's not something that bothers me in books, which sounds terrible to say, but if it's something that's going to be really like tender for you, then this might not be your book. But that's Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I gave it 4 stars. Next up is another arc. This one is Den of Liars by Jessica S. Olsen. I had no idea what to expect going into this one, and I loved it so much more than I thought it would. It has such a unique concept. Basically, this thief kind of gets into a situation where she owes something of like a life debt to one of these 2 magical brothers. They're not gods exactly. She's in service to him essentially, but they're also friends, and they're kind of like, I don't know. It's unclear to me whether that crosses the line. And then the other brother who's also magical, runs a magical casino kind of. So it has some elements of like Phantasma, but also like the Princess and the Frog with the way that the casino and tarot cards and all this are like included. And then you also have this girl who, she has vision problems. She's had the exact same reason that I'm blind in my left eye going on. So that was interesting to read about. Not because I feel like we're severely lacking in representation in that arena, because it's not usually a problem that people talk about, but just because I thought it was cool. And then it had like a little bit of the like Vampire Diaries tension between the 2 super powerful brothers. Yeah, so this one was super unexpected. I don't know that I would have picked it up if I hadn't like weirdly just randomly requested it on NetGalley, but I'm really happy that I read it, and I would definitely recommend it. So I gave that one 4 stars. That is Den of Liars by Jessica S. Olsen. All right, next up, I read The Gate to Kagoshima. I'm gonna be so real with you guys. The best part about this whole book is the way that it looks. I buddy read this with my friends Faye and Mel, and unfortunately all of us really felt like this book was not it. I think it was trying really hard to be Japanese Outlander kind of, and it just didn't work for me. There was quite a few plot lines that I feel like were really underdeveloped. Things just kind of happened without any kind of tether into the plot or character development or anything like that. And so this was really boring, and the subject matter should not have been boring. Like, there was a lot of talk about suicide just because of Japanese samurai culture and all of these things that, I don't know, it should not have been boring, and it was. So I wish that I could have rated this one better, but I did give it 2 stars. And that's The Gate to Kagoshima by Poppy Kurogi. Next up, I've got How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. Catherine Center is one of my tried and trues. I feel like if I just need an easy read that I know I'm gonna like, I always go to her. This is one of her older ones. This one and Things You Save in the Fire, I feel like people get confused about because they have very similar covers. This one is about a plane crash and kind of medical recovery from that. I had no idea about that going into it, which, like I've said, I'm not the best about reading synopsises or anything like that. I don't vet my books by much more than the genre, author, and cover. So that's on me. I'm not saying that that's the book's fault by any means, but I do think that the plot was not plotting in the way that Catherine Center books usually do. And so because of that, this is probably one of my lesser favorites of hers. I've read probably like 7 or 8 of her books by now, and there's a pizzazz to a lot of them that some of the earlier ones don't have. I definitely liked it. I think in terms of like my least favorite, I would go probably Everyone Is Beautiful, Love Haters, this one. My most favorites are Happiness for Beginners and the Rom-Commers. So I've kind of spread it out. And then there's a couple that I've read in the middle that I'm on, which would be like The Bodyguard. I wanted to say Stranger Things, but that's not what I meant. Hello, Stranger. That's what I was going for. What's another one that I've read that was kind of middling for me? It's completely left my brain. I'll think of it. Anyway, so there's a spectrum, right? So I think this one does fall kind of towards the end of the spectrum for me personally. That doesn't mean it's going to for everybody. So I would just say if you have any like sensitivity to watching people kind of go through things or traumatic plane crashes or really terrible fiancés or boyfriends, I don't remember if they were engaged or not. All of that's in here, but I still love Catherine Center. I think she's excellent. I gave this one 3 stars. Kind of a come from behind favorite. This is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This was such a fun book. This is my first Lynn Painter. Everybody always raves about her, but I am petty and transparently someone that I don't like that much. Used to love her books and talk about them all the time, so I just never read one. Out of spite. Spite to who? Myself, I guess, because this one was so good. This is about 2 people who basically are in the business of crashing weddings so that they can object. And I thought it was so fun. I listened to this one on audio while I was unpacking. I just binged through it in like a day. It was super entertaining. It's not a very large book, so it's definitely a quick read. And yeah, I think if you're into rom-coms, this has very How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days vibes. So I think if you're in the market for one that doesn't get talked about a lot, this is a great option. Next up, I think this was my highest rated book of the month, one of the 2. So this is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I still don't know how to say her last name. This blew me out of the water. This was published in 2015, so it's 10 years old now, and it kind of came before Romantasy was really hitting its stride. And so I feel like when you read this, you can tell how many bits and pieces were pulled from this into other stories that we now know and love today. The one that's coming to mind in a big way is Powerless. Thought this was fantastic. I'm so excited to read book 2. I buddy read this with Faye, and we're both really excited to pick up Glass Sword, so I can't wait to see where it goes. A great opening to a series, and I am so excited to continue. 5 stars. Next up, we've got one that is also kind of outside of my wheelhouse. It didn't used to be outside of my wheelhouse, but it is now, and that is The Circus Train by Amita Parikh. I say it's outside of my wheelhouse only because I haven't been reading historical fiction as much, but I loved this one. I thought it was so good. I listened to it on audio. It's got a lot going on because it's part romance, part magical realism with like the circus and everything, part historical fiction in a big way, and it was so good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think this is just a beautiful book, generally speaking. So if you're in the market for something that's really captivating, but you also will walk away feeling like you learned something and like you felt something, I think this is a really good option for you. Obviously, some trigger warnings abound, but yeah, I would pick this one up. This one was one of my first book of the month picks, I think, and so it's been on my shelf for quite some time. I'm so glad I finally got around to it. Next, we have probably the book that I've been most ashamed to say that I read this month. This is completely outside my wheelhouse. I read from Kindle Unlimited, so I do not own this book. Want to be super clear about that. Is Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. This is basically Minotaur smut. It's not very long. It had more of a plot than I expected it to, but I'd just seen it pop up around and I was in a silly, goofy mood, so I decided to go for something that I normally would not have gone for. It's exactly as advertised, is what I can tell you. Yeah, so I laughed about this a lot with my husband, and you know, it was what it was. I gave it 3 stars, not because I think it's good or bad, but because, like I said, I think it is dead on for what I should have been expecting. So that's Morning Glory Milking Farm. Then on audio, I listened to an arc of If All Else Fails by Emma St. Clair. This one doesn't come out until August, but I really, really enjoyed my time with it. One of my like niche things that I love is boats, and so anytime there's a story that's set on a boat, I feel like I'm just already like, you'd have to do something really wrong for me to not like the book at that. This one was really sweet. It was, I would say the characters were fun and sweet, and the story was the same. It's not something that was too high stakes. I kind of felt like it was marketed a little bit as a like sports romance because the MMC plays hockey, but there's like no hockey present in this book. So if that's like a reason that you were picking it up, I would read it for different reasons. But I did enjoy it a lot, and I think it's gonna do really well when it releases in August. Next up, we've got The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is another one that's been on my shelf for forever. It's another one where I think the cover is probably one of the best parts about this. It's such a beautiful cover. In April or maybe March, I read The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. That's her new one that just came out. It's got a really pretty cover too. And I think that one was trying to do a lot of the same things that The Lost Apothecary kind of flunked at. And I think The Amalfi Curse did them much better. So it's not that I don't like this book, I think it just pales in comparison to what we've seen she can do later. I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I just don't have a lot to say about it. I probably won't keep it, and I think I'm gonna pass it along. Next up, I've got another surprise. This is Firelight by Sophie Jordan. I really liked this book. It's kind of older. It just got re-released with these new covers. If you want to have a laugh, you can go and look up the old covers. They scream 2011. If you were like me at that time and I was like a punky little freshman in the library looking for fantasy books that included, you know, certain elements of YA that now I just roll my eyes at. So this is a dragon shifter romance technically, but it's very YA, and I really liked it. I'm curious to see where the rest of the series goes. It's a trilogy. The reason that I picked these up is because I have the arc for the sequel to A Fire in the Sky on my upcoming arc list, and so I need to read A Fire in the Sky obviously before that. These are what established the world for where A Fire in the Sky is set. So I'm kind of reading this prequel series so that I can get to A Fire in the Sky so that I can read an arc of the sequel. It's all very convoluted, but these are super quick reads. They're really small. You can see, I thought I had fried my book edges on this one, but this is just intentionally yellow, and then the other two are purple and blue on the edge, called Vanished and Hidden. So those are on my TBR for this month because I didn't get to them in June, but I'm really excited about them. I liked this a lot. I thought it was fun. Like I said, not a hard read at all, so you can blow through these super fast. And I'm really excited for A Fire in the Sky as well. So That is Firelight by Sophie Jordan. This is probably my favorite read of the month. This is an arc of A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. I went into this, honestly, I love Stacey McEwen, but I had read her first trilogy, Ledge, Chasm, and Valley, I think is what they're called. I've only read Ledge. I gave it 4 stars, but in hindsight, I might drop that down to a 3. I wasn't in love with it. And so, but I'd already requested this one, and when I got the arc of it, I was super excited just because, like I said, I love Stacey. I wanted to see what this book was about. It floored me. I loved this book. I thought it was so beautifully written. The plot was great. The characters were incredible. There was a lot of timeline jumps, but not in a way that was like confusing, because that is something that I don't like in books very much. And it felt like a combination of like Minecraft, Divine Rivals, and like Mockingjay. Not the Hunger Games, Mockingjay. It was so good. And I can't wait for the sequel. I'm actually a little bit mad at myself for reading this so early, because now I gotta wait for the sequel. But best bet your bottom dollar, I will be applying for an arc of the sequel as well. Yeah, so if you're like at a loss for what to read and you loved Divine Rivals, I would hit up A Forbidden Alchemy. So good. Last but not least is this book's darling, Shield of Sparrows. I have been a longtime Daphne Perry fan. I have not read everything she's ever done, but I have read Coach, I've read the entire Eden series, and I have a bunch others on my TBR. So this, I knew I would like it. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like I've seen a lot of people give it mixed reviews or DNF it. I thought it was good. I do understand people's issues with the pacing in the front. It feels like it takes a really long time for something to happen. I enjoy that part of fantasy books. I like the world building, and I feel like the length of time for which it took the 2 main characters to finally get together made me like it more, because the yearning was there. But I understand that's not everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. But I did think it was a really unique take on a romantasy, so I'm excited to see where she goes with this. But yes, it is a very long book, and it's one that I'm definitely going to need to reread before the second one comes out, because there was a lot going on, especially at the end. I feel like the number of plot twists that were hitting, like there's just no way that you can keep all of that in your head, you know? So I really enjoyed this one. I think people are kind of giving it a hard rep, or they're being like, oh my gosh, this is the best fantasy book that's ever existed. And I really fall somewhere in the middle. I don't think it is my favorite fantasy book to ever exist, but I do definitely think that Daphne Perry knows what she's doing and has a very specific approach to how this series is going to look. So I'm very glad I read that one. 4 stars. I don't know if I said that. That is every single book that I read in the month of June. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you in the next one.